Hey, good morning there, church. A quick thought from today's one-year Bible reading in the Old Testament in Genesis chapter 50. Jacob passes away. Joseph and the brothers bury him. And then the brothers come to Joseph and they say, "This was our father's dying wish, that you would not kill us for what we did." I doubt that Jacob ever said anything like that. But nevertheless, they were very anxious to save their skins. But they need not have worried. Joseph has been transformed by his suffering because he has yielded to God. And God has used that to transform Joseph's character. And he responded to his brothers, "Am I God? Is it my place to decide who lives and dies?" Although he could have, he had the power. He said, "You meant it for evil and God meant it for good." And look, that's the ultimate statement of the providence of God in the Old Testament. The things that God either causes in our lives or permits to come into our lives that cause us pain and suffering, he can redeem that suffering and use it to transform us into the image of Christ. Yield to God. Lean into the suffering and make sure that our relationship to the Lord is our primary number one relationship. That's what we should be working on and building. As Peter said to Jesus in the New Testament portion of today's one-year Bible reading, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." That's the most important thing in our lives, and Jesus is the most important relationship. As God said to Peter, James, and John on the Mount of Transfiguration, "This is my son, listen to him." Let's read it, hear his word, integrate it into our lives, and build and cultivate a relationship with God. When we do, we'll be ready to take up our cross. Whatever our individual burden or suffering, whatever the sacrifice is that we need to make, we'll lean into it without fear, knowing that God is in control and he is able to redeem any and all suffering that comes into our lives. Whatever Satan means for evil in our lives, God's going to turn it to good. Let's take up our cross and follow him, my crucified friends. That's what I'm going to try to do today, and perhaps you will as well. God loves you, and so do I.